Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about the different types of options you have for licensing and making sure you're legal. If you are an off-roader and you're riding your side-by-side, your Razor, your Can-Am, and you want to put a radio in it, what are your options, right, for staying legal? So a great resource for looking this information up is the FCC website. And one of the first things you can do is you go to this website. If you type in, I like keywords. You can actually navigate things through menus, but I like to type up here in the search and just say personal radio services. And if you do that, you'll find a link to some really good information. I'll click on that. So this tells you the different types of personal radio services you can actually get. Of course, CB, we know about CB. That's the old school CBs that have been around forever. You are limited on those, so a lot of people don't like them, and they are less regulated. You can basically your limits are about 12 watts on those, to 4 watts, depending on what mode you're operating the CB in, if it's AM or what. Then there's FRS. A few years back, you guys will remember in your sporting goods stores, you used to see these, and Motorola used to have them, and they would advertise 50 kilometers or something outrageous. That wasn't true, but basically they've changed the laws in 2017. They've limited FRS. It's really now between a half watt, and I believe it's up to 2 watts depending on which channel you're on. And so they've really limited it down. And then what they've done is they've combined the GRMS, the General Mobile Radio Services, they've overlaid on top, but you have to actually buy a license for GRMS. You don't for FRS. But GRMS, you get a lot of power. So what you do is you don't have to take a test. You just go to apply for it. It's a 10-year license, and it covers everybody in your family. So you'll be given a call sign, and everybody in that family can use that call sign and transmit up to 50 watts on some of those GRMS channels. So a lot of options there. And if you're riding and you're riding with your family, that is a great option because it lets you reach out really, really far. That is in the 70 centimeter band, as opposed to the 2-meter band, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. The other option you've got is the MURS, the multi-use radio service. It used to be called the color dot channels. They were could be used for commercial stuff, and so the power levels I think a while back were higher. Now they are limited to 2 watts now, so it's not really that great. But you don't need any license. You don't have to pay any fee. You can operate off of there's 5 frequencies I believe on the frequency bands on the MURS channel, and you can operate off that as well. So most of the dual band radios that you get, especially the Chinese radios that you get off of Amazon, they have the capability to operate in all these frequencies except for CB. CB's on a completely different band, but the dual band radios, UHF, VHF type radios that operate 2 meters and 70 centimeters can reach into the FRS, GRMS, and the MURS bands. So very attractive radios. For doing this stuff. But it's important you know the rules because you can set the power levels higher than you can legally transmit on. So you need to know what those rules are to be able to transmit in that. The next option is actually go get your ham radio license. So if you get a technician class radio license, it gives you a ton of options. You got to do a little studying. You got to take a test. You'll know a lot more about it, but it really, really opens up how many channels and what your frequencies that you can operate off of in those in the high frequency bands. So I would encourage you, if you have the time to do that. There's a lot of ham technician class operators that do the 4x4 off-road OHV type scenarios and are type hobbies, and so a lot more people have that capability than you think they do. So it's really nice. One thing I would like to note: if you're a ham operator, though, and you have a technician class or an extra or general license, you still got to pay your money if you want to operate in the GRMS bands, right? So that's separate. So even though you may have your ham license, you got to go off and get your GMS. You got to pay the GMS fee to get your GMS call sign. You're supposed to use your GMS call sign when you're operating in that band. So I just want to make that note. So how do you find out information on this? So hey, let's say we're interested in GRMS. You go up here and you just type on the FCC website GRMS, and you'll be taken to a link here. I'm going to click on it, GRMS, and it gives me some really good information. It tells me a little about what the exact band is. This is the 70 centimeter band, is what we call that. And if you click on licenses, it tells you a little bit about the rules for licensing. it'll have a link here. This 47 CFR part 95 subpart E. There's all the rules for the ham stuff for the I'm sorry for this GRMS service. And it'll tell you what you can and can't do, what your power levels are, what your frequencies are, what the rules are, what you can and can't do. And so if you click on that, what it'll do is it'll take you to this link on the ECFR, Electronic Code of Federal Regulations. And if you scroll down through here to GRMS, you'll see it. There you go. There's your permitted uses and prohibited uses. You can click on that. You can see things like, hey, you can use it for one-way communication. You can use it for emergency use. You can use it for traveler assistance. You can basically just general usage. You can use it. What you can't do things like play music over a channel, a GRMS. I hear people doing that sometimes, and that's a no-no. You can't send advertisements over it. So you can't send a message on behalf of another government entity, things like that. So there's a lot of rules. What you can and can't do with antennas are in here, and then how much power level, what your power levels are as you transmit across it. All that is listed. All that is listed in here. And notice right here it's 50 watts max on a few of those channels, 15 on some more, and then the interstitial channels you're limited to about 5 watts. There are a few that are I think are like a half watt, but go through those and look, and you'll see all the details on it. So very good information on these web pages. Let's take a quick look. I'm going to go back. Let's do a quick search for MURS just to see. Oh, by the way, you can click on the same page here, and you can see all the channels. So here's all your frequencies and your bandwidth on those frequencies associated with GRMS. So let's type on MURS real quick. We'll go back to the search, type MURS, and there's MURS, and we'll click on it, and you'll see it's 151 to 154 megahertz. So that's down in the 2 meter band. And it's covered by part 95. We were just there looking in there. You can see there's the channel. So 151.20 through 154.6. Those are your 5 channels and your widths, your bandwidth on those channels. And then gives you some information on what you can and can't do there. But going back and looking at the 47 CFR part 95 is where you'll get all that information. So good stuff. So let's say that you do want to apply for and get you a GRMS radio license, because that's one of the most attractive things. Really easy. You can do all this electronic now. You just go up here to licensing and you click on ULS, Universal Licensing System. And there's 2 links. One is new user registration. So if you click on this, what this will do is it'll take you to a website where you're your email address, your physical address, your phone number, all your personal information needed for an FCC account. They'll assign you an FRN, a frequency registration number. That number is what all of your call signs and all of your authorizations are tied to. And then you'll have a login. And so you'll use that FRN to actually log into the system. Once you get that FRM set up, it only takes a few minutes to go through that process, then you can actually go apply for the license. So you'll then click the file online, and I've already got an FRN set up, so I'll go ahead and just log in here. It'll give you a login prompt. And I'm actually a ham radio operator also, so I have two actual licenses, or 2 call signs. I have my ham radio call sign, KH7QS, and I also have my GRMS call sign, which is WRFB423. And that's the ZA service. So when you apply to this, just remember GRMS is the ZA service. And then when my licenses expire, I just re-upped these not too long ago, so they're good to go. So basically, how would I apply? Well, you go up here to the link and you say apply for a new license. And when you do that, it's going to bring up a web page. We won't go into all of it because it's just filling out a big form, but it'll take you to a web page. It'll ask you what type of service you're applying to. You'll do a pull down for ZA. It'll say GRMS ZA, and then you enter your information and you pay your money. Like I say, I think it's $75 or $80 for 10 years for your entire family. You pay that. And within about 3 days, you'll get back a really nice note that gives you your call sign, and it basically gives you your authorization to go use GRMS, and you're covered. And at that stage, you can go into your radio and you can set it up and go use it. So very easy and straightforward to use. So Anyway, yeah. So I hope that was some good info.